All right, Brendan, thank you for being here with me today. It's a pleasure. We're going to be talking about uncommon paths to getting into a COO or a CEO position, helping people inspire a new generation of leaders.
Oh, okay. Well, thanks for having me. I'm thrilled to be here.
Great, my pleasure. So can you tell me a little bit about Halo Systems and what you do?
Yeah, Halo Maritime Defense Systems, it's kind of a unique story. I had been in the Navy for 30 years as a Navy pilot. When I was 6 years old, I wanted to fly airplanes. And
sounds good.
I was an immigrant and went to the Naval Academy and never looked back, and was going to get out, go to airlines, ended up doing 30 years in the Navy. But when I did get out, I went to work for a company in the finance sector, in their their operations side. But I ended up on the board of this small little startup called Halo.
Okay.
And Halo was actually building new ideas for port security barriers to protect ships, in particular U.S. Navy ships, from terrorist attack like the USS Cole. And I thought it was pretty innovative. I had actually implemented the Navy design systems and put them in, and they weren't very good, and they had a lot of problems. So I went on the board, and after about 3 years, the main investor called me. We went to lunch, and he said, "Why don't you stop screwing around with this finance stuff and come help us full time?"
Okay.
And it's really funny because my wife said to me, you're leaving this global company of 2,700 people, and you're going to go work for a startup where you're the number 4 employee." Yeah, and I did, because I really thought they were going to do something worthwhile. And in that transition, as we move forward, we looked at things like, well, how best do we protect ships, and is it just the U.S. Navy? And we decided, no, it's more than that. It's all rigs, it's all platforms, it's all ports. It's not just about port security. But if you think about a terrorist attack, and you think about what they would do to you, look out here at which one of these is the terrorist boat? Any one of these can carry 300 to 500 pounds of explosives and blow up a ship in port.
Wow.
Now, where does the Maritime Alliance come in? It comes in from the fact that it also cares about the blue economy. And the big thing about that is the environment. And I quickly saw, wait a minute, we have to get serious about what we can do to protect something like that from happening. Because if a terrorist attack happens, although you'll have a loss of life, and that would be terrible, you'll have an ecological disaster on your hands.
Yeah.
And now what? So we're trying to get out in front of it. And we've talked to a lot of ports and a lot of places, and they'll say, hey, well, we're relying on sensors. And, well, okay, that's great, but what do sensors do? They tell you you're about to get hit, and they record the hit. They do nothing to stop it or slow it down, so law enforcement or Coast Guard or Navy can intercept the bad guys. So that's kind of where we're coming from.
So I'm curious, kind of thinking about these different stages of your career. It sounds like you've had a few.
Yep.
What do you think you learned at each stage that helped you to be able to run the business that you're running now?
I always believe, and I learned this from a politician years ago that I heard say it, always hire people smarter than yourself. Never try to be the smartest guy in the room. Always you want to hire the smartest guys in the room.
Yeah.
And that way you can get that innovation.
Great.
And you can move forward. And delegate. Let people do their job.
Yeah.
And make course corrections and guidance. I had some great bosses. I had some bad bosses. I learned positively from both sides.
Absolutely.
And you try to remember them. I guess the biggest lesson I learned, and I'll give a shout out to in the Navy, was Admiral Tony Maness, one of my heroes. And he gave a speech before he died about, we all in life will fail. Everybody fails.
Yeah.
Whether it's that promotion you wanted, that pay raise you wanted, a test you're taking in school, a test you're taking post-school. As aviators, we always had an annual test. You're always going to fail at something. That's not what's important. What's important is what you do in face of that failure.
Yeah.
That's what makes you the man or woman that you're going to be and to raise to the next level. And I've always taken that on board, and I try to instill that on the people who work for me. And I'd much rather have people lean forward and sometimes fall down. You pick them up, dust them off, and keep going, than people who want to wait and not take action.
Yeah.
And I guess that's kind of what I learned in my career is always be looking forward. Don't look behind you unless that's the direction you intend on going.
Right. Right.
You know, make decisions and keep moving.
Yeah. That's a great lesson. I feel like it serves you really well in the business that you're running now, I imagine.
It has. It really. I've been very blessed. You know, I've been very fortunate in my life. So I pinch myself. You know, as a kid whose dad worked 3 jobs when he immigrated from Ireland to where I am now. I had a conversation just a week ago with somebody, and I said, and he came from a very well-off family, and he said, I'm right where I thought I would be. And I said, I'm so far beyond where I thought I ever would be, it's not even funny. And that's because America really is that land of opportunity. And I am not ashamed to say that, and I'm not ashamed to say that this country is the greatest country. I've traveled a lot over the world, and they give people the opportunity. You have to be willing to seize it.
Yeah.
That's all.
So that's a great kind of segue. I'd love to hear, what would you say to people who want to get to the type of position that you are now? How could they do that? What lessons would you impart to them?
I would say work hard, and it doesn't come right away. Sometimes I've had some people, young people work for me who'll say, well, why can't I just make the decision? Well, part of it is, you know, you get the gray hair because you kind of learn as you go through life, you know, the politics of it, because that plays into it, and how to navigate the different issues of dealing with other people. I mean, it's not always just what's necessarily the right answer, you know, that you think it is.
Yeah.
There's other pieces to this. And listen, you know, God gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason, so listen. And that's pretty important. But also, get that work-life balance. I think it's very important. I personally have great, you know, faith. I believe in God. There are people who don't. That's up to them. And I know people are uncomfortable with that. But you got to have something that grounds you. What's your moral compass? You have to. I would tell people, if you want to be the leader of a company, no matter what it is, make sure you have a moral compass. You know where you're going. And I always ask myself this question throughout my career. I learned this early on, and it's always on the whiteboard of my office, the first letter of each word, and it's, what's the right thing to do? So whenever you're hit with an issue, ask yourself that. You'd be surprised. You'll come up with the answer fairly quickly, and now you can work out, okay, how do I get there?
Yeah. That's a great lesson.
You know,
thank you so much.
Sure,
yeah,
sure.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much for taking the time. Really appreciate it.
Great. Thanks.